So we're going to take this cut, I'm going to do it dry, and I'm going to take it into a long, kind of a beachy, textured bob. So we're going to start, and she's got this side part the way the hair's implanted, so I am just going to leave it and go with it. Make sure you can see here. Make sure she's straight. And this doll head does not want to comb, no matter how much product I've put in there or anything, so. So as I do this, I am not going to curve around the head as I'm working. I want to be working on a flat panel back through here, all the way out. Make sure, especially when you're working on a doll head, that your elevation where you're holding your hand is the same with every single section. I definitely don't want to be out here on some of them, down here on some of them. I want to be coming at the same elevation, and that's the same when you're working on a person too, but the difference with a person is their back is there, so you can kind of tell, and the back of the chair is there and all this stuff, so you can be able to keep track of your elevation a little bit better, where with a doll head it's easy to go back and forth, so just be really conscious of that as you're working. Okay, so step one is going to be your design line. Okay. Now I'm going to start bringing this back to this back section. And what you want to be careful of when you do that is that none of these hairs are crossing over. I don't want to comb like this and bring that in, because that's going to make it shorter there than I want it to be. So I want the line here to continue. And so with that, I need to make sure I'm combing where it goes and then pull it back so that it's traveling a little bit further and being over directed back. And if you want it much longer in the front, you could either start cutting it straight across, or you can start angling down in order to get it even longer in the front. Turn her a little bit here and show you on this side. Okay, so I want to comb it down where it goes and then travel it back out to my hand here so that this hair is traveling a little further, but this hair needs to be here, this hair here, that hair there. Okay, and you want to be cross-checking as you're going. Make sure one side's not way longer than the other side. Keep it nice and even. Okay, so from here, I can bring all of this straight back and be able to cut it straight along the person's back and along the chair, and that will also give you a swing forward that's a little longer over the shoulder. Or we could also cut over the shoulder by tipping her over and then just continuing the line that we just created. So you can see that it's slightly angled, and now I have a guide and I can continue that to the front. Now with the side part, her left side is gonna be a little longer because all of this hair is traveling over there all the way to here, and so we can take care of that at the end. I want to make sure there's no pieces underneath there that are going to throw off our line. And there's that. Okay, So there it is, coming down longer. And we're gonna do the same thing on this side. So tip her over. And I've got my line here, and I'm just gonna follow that line. Make sure that the ear isn't gonna cause a hole. Okay, and there's that line. So then, actually it might not come down longer in the front because she has existing face framing, but if she didn't have the face framing, because this hair is going to travel here and come down further than this side, a lot of times you'll end up with a little bit of a longer piece there if she didn't have the face framing. Because she has the face framing, this side actually may end up looking a little shorter. But you just basically assess it as you go, check it from the front, check it from the back, and then we'll face frame it and make sure it's nice and even here at the very end. Okay, so step one is done. That is the design line, or some people call it the guideline. There's different names for it, but essentially it's this part here. So now we need to start adding our layers. So these layers are gonna be added from, I'm gonna take this out of the way so you can see. Just below the crown to the occipital bone. So this section here is gonna be layered. It's gonna be taken straight out from where it grows until here, and then it's gonna be over directed back to keep the layers the same as our length. And you can section everything out, but I'm gonna show you me doing it without sectioning it as well. Make sure that your client is straight up and down, that she's not tipping one way or another. Okay, so my first guide is going to be at the occipital bone, straight out, and I'm going to bring it up through here. So I'm going to point cut. I'm going to show you that way, but I'm also going to show you another way you could do this to create even more texture, if that's what you're going for, and softness and a very lived-in look. And to do that, I'll be coming from internally, and you can get rid of length or just add texture that way. So it's totally up to you. And you can see now we're starting to break up that line a little bit. So I'm gonna do one section on either side of that initial section, and then I'll start over directing. So I'm gonna point cut first, and then go in and pull out some weight. Point cut and pull out a little bit of weight there, and done. Okay, so now this section through here is all cut straight out from where it grows. Now the next section, I'm going to over direct back to the section that was just before it, because that's where I started over directing the design line. And again, try to make sure you're bringing it straight out from where it grows. Use your mirror. Right now, because I don't have a mirror, it's a little bit harder to be able to see. Okay, so there's one section there. I'm gonna come over here and do one section here. And by going back and forth, even though it seems sporadic and like you're all over the place, because a lot of people wanna finish out one side then finish out the other, you end up with a lot more symmetry because you can go back and forth and check as you go. I'm just going to go through and break that up a little bit, and done. Okay, So now from here to here is all done. Now I'm gonna do these front two pieces. I'm gonna bring them back to this piece here, because this is where it really starts swinging down and getting a lot longer. And when you do this, you do not want to layer all the way down to the hairline, or you'll end up breaking up your design line. So if you're afraid that you are going to cut into it, just remove that bottom inch of that section and you'll know for sure you're not going to touch it. Double checking, making sure she's still straight up and down, bringing it back to that last section. There shouldn't be a whole lot to cut just because the previous cut had face framing layers, so a lot of that's already been cut away. But you still want to go through each section even if you know it's not going to reach, because you never know if you're going to have a random hair that has to be cut in. Okay, and then the very last section, brought all the way back. Drop out the design line. You can point cut, or I call this slide cutting. Either way, I like to do both. And now it's layered all the way through here. Okay, so now we're going to do the other side. Making sure she's nice and even. I'm going to take this first section back to here. Okay, drop out that design line so that I don't cut into that guide there. And back to this back corner. And we're gonna, you can see the guide behind it, so don't be cutting into that guide, you already established it. And try to be coming straight out from where it grows as much as possible. It's very easy to change your elevation, and if you do that, it's not gonna feel nice and even. Definitely use your mirror so you can stay on track. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of my last section and my new section. I'm gonna bring that all the way back to that back corner. Okay, and not much to cut again because she has face framing. Slide cutting in there, and step 2 is done. She is layered all the way through here and we have the design line. Okay, so step 3. We're going to take a little bit of the right side of her part and a little bit of the left side of her part, and we're going to hold that up over the part line. And we're going to take a guide from the last section here, where we did our layers in the back, here, and we're gonna bring that up. So now I'm gonna cut from here, and my guide here has already been established through the side when I brought it back, over directed and layered it. So now all I have to do is connect point A here to point B here. Try to be very diligent about only cutting to that second knuckle so you don't cut yourself. Okay. Okay, so that first section's done. We're gonna take a little bit of this section from the crown, over direct it, over that part line again, take some of our guide from back here, bring it towards yourself to be over her part line, and cut that in. Sometimes in this section, especially if the hair's shorter, you're not gonna have anything to cut, but you still wanna double check it, you still wanna go through and make sure. And if you do wanna do some slide cutting in this part, hold your fingers a little bit further down and you can add some texture as you're going, it's totally fine. And I just move my fingers up as I'm going, and it's done. Okay, so now here, I'm gonna do this in 2 sections because her part's over here. I'm gonna take this first section here, so you can see the section I'm taking, and I want to be over her part line. And now you can see here, point A, there, and point B here, over direct. You can go in and give a little bit of texture through that crown if you want to. And last, take this. I'm gonna take that whole section from before. A lot of this hair is not gonna reach, but again, we still wanna check it anyway. Okay. All the way to that guide, connecting point A and point B. And then if I do want to add any texture, I can. And I can pick up back through here and add more texture as well. Okay, so now it's layered here, it's layered here. We have our design line. We're going to go on to step 4. Step 4, we need to blend these layers with these layers. This is going to be blended through the parietal ridge, but we have to remember what we've done with the layers and what we've done with the design line. You'll notice the layers to the crown were angled this way because everything through the front is longer than in the back. So we had to keep with that, or else you'll end up with really chunky short layers here that don't blend, and it makes this right here very stringy. So we want to make sure that we're always remembering what did we do with the design line so that we could keep the layers flowing with that line. So to do that, you're going to start in the center back through here, and you're going to pull the hair straight out from where it grows on the parietal ridge. And there's going to be a point right through here where those two lines are coming together. I just like to do a very gentle point cut in there just to blend it a little, but you can also go through and remove weight. So it's up to you how you want to do that. Either way, it's going to be very beautiful and lived in. All right, so same thing that we did here, we want to do 2 sections on either side of that middle section, straight out from where it grows. Blending that a little bit, point cutting it a little bit, just adding different textures in there. And then we want to come over here and do the same thing here. Straight out from where it grows, we're going to point cut, blend. Okay. Now from here, we want to start over directing back. So we're going to over direct back to that last section and get rid of that corner there. And you're going to start noticing it a lot more through the front where those pieces get a lot longer. But again, you're not trying to remove length, you're just taking off corners and blending it. And then this side, we're going to bring all the way back to this back corner. Point cut and blend. And then the last piece here might not even reach, but we're still going to go through it anyway. Back to this back area here where we first started over directing. Okay, and that's done and blended now. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to start over directing one section back. There's our corner there. We have layers here, layers there, and this corner there. So we're just going to go through, point cut, we can blend a little, and done. And then here, we're going to take one section and we're going to over direct it back where we just were. Back to that back corner. There's the corner that needs to be blended. And your eye is gonna get better at seeing these really fine, minute details. And until then, just follow these steps and you're gonna end up with a gorgeous blended cut every time. And eventually you'll see everything I'm talking about. You might not right away. You might be like, what corner? I don't see a corner. Eventually you will see it. You'll see weight lines, you'll notice them. So don't worry if you can't see it right now. Okay, blend a little. And step 4 is done. Okay, Step 1, we did the design line. Step 2, we layered above the occipital bone but below the parietal ridge. Step 3, we layered above the parietal ridge in the crown area. And step 4, we are blending the parietal ridge. Okay, so now, step 5, we need to make sure that her face framing is blended on either side. And she might not want face framing, so this is going to be something that you determine in the consultation with her and make sure that you're giving her the look she wants. But I am going to blend it a little bit because she already had some existing face framing on this side, which makes this side look a little longer, because the original haircut with the layers was cut to the middle. So now that this is traveling over here, it seems a lot shorter because this is not layered. So we're going to figure out where do those layers start. And when they're off to the side, they are starting about where her collarbone would be. So since this side is not traveling, I'm just going to bring it out a little bit and start some face framing just very softly about where her collarbone would be. Okay, and then I'm gonna see how that's blending. And that's looking a lot better, not so heavy over here. I'm liking that a lot more. Okay. Make sure this isn't too long. I think it's coming down a little bit longer, so I'm gonna get rid of that little corner there where it's coming down a little longer, right there. And these little details are what's gonna make or break your haircut and set it apart from other people when you notice all those details. So really start training your eye to see that. And I can't tell, it's curled different too, so it's really hard to see. Okay, go back in here and make sure that it's even. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the finishing. So we have our face framing, you could do bangs or whatever they're wanting. If you're wanting curtain bangs or something like that, you can do that. I'm gonna leave it long so that I could do another video with her with bangs. But now we're gonna do all of our finishing techniques. So through here, you could go underneath the occipital bone and you can texturize down through here if you're wanting this to be a little more piecey and not so solid. So you can absolutely do that. You can go back through everything and start texturing and removing weight. I'm gonna go through her crown and I'm gonna section out a little piece here. And then from underneath, about half the length of her hair, I'm just gonna go through and remove some pieces, opening and closing my scissor as I do that, just to give her some little bit of texture in the crown. Underneath, give her some lift in there. Her hair does not need much finishing, it looks really good. But I'm gonna take this front piece, I'm gonna bring it out towards me, and I'm gonna give her some texture, pushing back away from the face so that we have shorter hair pushing longer this way and then some shorter hair pushing longer that way. And one of the basic rules in hair cutting is that shorter hair always pushes longer hair. So if we pull this forward here, flip it back over my fingers, and I create some shorter pieces pushing that way, back away from her face, these pieces are gently going to kind of just travel away from her face and look like a little bit of like a feathering back effect. It's gonna be pretty soft, but it's automatically gonna make it wanna stay out of her face a little bit more. And I think it's just a really pretty effect. And this is another thing you can do with like curtain bangs and stuff like that to create a push away from her face. Okay, so now this side is a little bit more difficult because I'm right-handed. I'm gonna take my fingers from underneath, flip it back, and I wanna be careful with my pressure because I don't wanna cut into this behind, but I'm just gonna gently create some shorter pieces, pushing the longer pieces back away from her face. Okay. face framing here. And give a little push on that face framing. Okay. So there's a lot more finishing techniques we could do, but because her hair is laying really nice, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it alone. And let me get some after pictures for you. But that is so cute. I love it. It took that long layered haircut into a short textured bob. And I think that anyone would be really, really happy to wear this cut and have a lot of options with their styling, and the color still looks beautiful. Thanks for watching. Thank you.